We got 15 minutes for you to set your mic up. It's not a big deal.
I think we're golden. I think we're going right now. So yeah, welcome to Dynasty Bebop. I think we're gonna knock out a couple round mock draft today. I'm gonna get some things switched over here. Boom, boom. All right, buddy. How you living over there in nice Ravenna town?
It's sunny. The plants are outside. 60 degrees. What can you say?
I know, man. The Ohio summer winter is going on strong down here. It's nice.
See, boss.
Yeah, yeah. All right, man. So I guess since I'm created this thing, I'll go ahead and give you the top pick. So you got the 101. We're doing a two-round super flex tight end premium. Let's do 1.75. I think that seems to almost be the new standard nowadays for a lot of these leagues. I feel like they're getting set up. I feel like the 175 just adds a little bit extra value to that tight end, just making them just valuable enough to start peeking into your flex positions. So I kind of like what that brings to the mock draft mentality. So all right, buddy,
Yeah,
you are
honestly,
on the yeah.
if you're in a tight end premium league and it's anything under 1.75, it's pretty much a trap, and you should just let everybody else overvalue tight ends at that point because anything below 1.75 isn't really having that big of an impact compared to the best, skill players. But yeah, so yeah, let's get rolling with this thing. I think there's a easy and obvious pick here at the 101, and I'm just gonna go ahead and go with Caleb Williams. I've got a little bit different comp than I've seen. I kind of compare him to young Deshaun Watson, the top five quarterback that we saw for the first few years. He's got the ability to extend and create when the play breaks down and just do some ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I know everyone likes to be on the Marv 101 train. I think it's just one of those things where, people were excited for him for a while. These top receivers are so sexy. They've been performing so well over the past few years that, everybody just wants to grab that next Jamar Chase prospect. But, I think at the end of the day, there's only 32 starting quarterbacks, maybe 50 some throughout the season with injuries. But, to start the year, we only got 32 of them. And to be honest, we usually only feel good about 11 of them. So, to grab a guy that I think is walking in the door as a top 12 quarterback right off the rip is definitely what I would be doing as well.
Yeah.
Um, with my 102, I'm honestly kind of gonna follow suit here a little bit, and not go off of what the norm here has been, which is taking Marvin Harrison at the 1 or 2. I'm gonna go Drake May. I think that the quarterback has the size, he's got the arm, he's got the ability to play at the next level. He's gonna be a top five pick in the NFL draft. So who have the capital? Once again, I'm building these teams through these young quarterbacks. They're the most likely to get opportunity right away. They have a lot of value, security throughout the season. Even if they don't perform well year one, they're typically holding value into year two, unless you have like the worst rookie quarterback season ever, Bryce Young. And right now you're maybe lucky to be worth a late first, but for the most
Yeah.
part, I mean, you look at Anthony Richardson, who showed a few flashes, got injured, and is right back into a first round startup pick.
Right. Yeah, I got Drake May here as well because I think that the difference between Drake May, there's one other quarterback that can kind of fall into this, but I think the difference between your Drake Mays and your like Bo Nix, Michael Penix, Spencer Rattler types is going to be way bigger than the difference between like Marvin Harrison and like Roma Dunze or Marvin Harrison and say Troy Franklin. So if I have multiple picks, I'm going to be focusing on these quarterbacks early because it's the biggest disparity in positional value that's available.
Yeah, certainly. All right,
All
man,
right,
you're on
so
the clock with 103.
Um, I am going to go Marv here. I do, like I was saying, there's another quarterback that could slot into this. I just feel more comfortable at this point with Marvin Harrison, and with that 103. If he's there, you're going to be laughing all the way to the bank.
Yeah, no, I mean he's definitely a strong prospect. I think for me it's not only the fact that quarterbacks hold that higher value, but the fact that there are so many wide receivers in this draft that it just makes me not really feel much urge to take Marvin Harrison. Honestly, I think in a lot of situations I'm going to be looking if Marv falls to me to the 103 or 104, like I'm looking to trade out immediately because there's going to be someone just drooling to get that Marvin Harrison 103, 104 value. And you'll be able to turn around and get 101 type level value out of your 104, 103. That's going to be some draft day gold.
Yeah.
All right, so here at the 104, I'm going to keep singing my same song here and take the player I think that still has the most upside. Maybe out of all three of these quarterbacks going in the top five is Jaden Daniels. With the rushing floor, Heisman Trophy winner, took a big step forward last year. I know he's got kind of the super senior mentality of being a slightly older prospect, but you can't deny the ability that a player like that has and can add to your fantasy roster. I think the shallower the league, the further I'm moving Daniels up my board. If I'm playing in one quarterback, he's probably my QB1. If I'm playing in shallow benches, I'm going for the full ceiling of a Jaden Daniels versus a Caleb Ramey even.
Yeah, I do think that Daniels has the highest ceiling out of these guys. I love what I've seen on the field, except for, seeing him kind of get tossed around at times. That's a little scary. Yeah, I do definitely think that Daniels is one guy that we could see, if everything goes right for him, we could see him in the first half of startup drafts going into next year. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah,
All
for
right.
sure.
At the 105, I'm going to go with the person who I have at 104, and that is Malik Neighbors. The only reason I've got him and Daniels flopped is just because I think that he also has an incredibly high ceiling, and I think it's going to be a lot safer than Daniels. And I just, gambling is fun, but at the 104, if I earned that 104, I want to like get a player that I know is going to be good. And, you're either going to be able to sell that pick because somebody's going to be high on Neighbors, or Neighbors is going to start smashing and you could sell him, or just hold him on your team because he's going to be a good dynasty value for a while.
Yeah, yeah. I have so many 104s and 105s. I think that's like the prime spot to be trading up into in your startups right now. This is clearly a tier break for me after the 105. But honestly, you could pretty much close your eyes, throw a dart at any one of these five prospects to me, and I'm gonna feel pretty comfortable with any one of them. Here I have a two-player tier going into this next 6 and 7 turn here. I am going to take my one of my favorite wide receivers in this class, which is Roma Dunze. I think that I am 100% tight end hater. I maybe it's just I've been burned by too many tight ends over the years, but at this point in my elder years of fantasy football. I'm going to let someone else take the Brock Bowers and work on developing him maybe into a year 3 breakout prospect. If he hits right away and you get 15 years of straight tight end one production, then damn, oops. I'm going to miss that one, I think, more times than not.
Yeah. I really wanted you to pick Brock Bowers there, because I don't want to pick him here. And so I guess I'm not going to. Um, I'm going to go ahead and actually grab Troy Franklin ahead of Brock Bowers. Uh, I'm scared of Brock, man. he could be a smash. He's done ridiculous things in college that, nobody's ever done before. He's a little undersized. He's not going to be the best blocker. He's not going to be out there every play. He's going to be kind of scheme dependent. So I'm just going to take what I think is a really, really well-rounded wide receiver that is going to stay in the top 4 rounds of a startup draft for at least a couple of years.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I definitely like your boy Troy. I think he's definitely got a lot of upside, and especially, it's always these wide receivers that are, I feel like there's another little tier with Troy and Brian Thomas Jr. in it, for me. And I think both those guys, the further they fall in the NFL draft is almost like a better thing because they're going to land in those top offenses. Always what scares you the most is maybe them being a mid-round wide receiver in the first round. They're going to get that capital, but they might end up in a situation without a real QB1 or a
Jahan
young.
Dotson syndrome.
I was literally thinking Jahan Dotson. You're looking at Traylon Burks. You're looking at a lot of players in that range. Even JSN this year, who didn't really have the season we were hoping for as Ohio State JSN fans. So, anyways, let's go ahead and move forward here. I did talk about my two-player tier. I am going to still safely take Brock Bowers. There are still a ton of Bowers people out there that are all brocked up, ready to roll for tight end one Bowers moving forward.
Rock
And
hard.
I do think that there's a lot of upside here still. I mean, I know that you kind of poo-poo a little bit, maybe some of his versatility as a tight end. Like as a full tight end, well-rounded, like all three downs. But I do think that the NFL kind of goes away from that, and the Bowers is a really a I hate being landing spot dependent, but he's really the most landing spot dependent player on my board. I think if he lands with the right system, any tight end can really shine. I mean, you look at Jake Ferguson in Dallas, like that's not evidently like I don't think Jake Ferguson's a superstar, but Dallas has always really shown that desire to target those tight ends, and always end up producing top 12 players in position. So, I think that he's a guy that lands in Cincinnati or the Chargers in the top five pick, something like that. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, you got to consider moving him up maybe a little bit ahead of Neighbors.
yeah. If he's getting top 5 draft capital in the NFL, I'm gonna be changing my tune a little bit. If he goes to the Chargers with that top pick, well, he at least goes above a Dunze. I don't know if I still would put him above Neighbors, but I think at that point he'd have to go above a Dunze.
Sure, sure.
All right, so I'm up here.
Yep.
Uh, so next up, I really love Brian Thomas here, but I'm gonna go with Bo Nix just because I don't love the dude, honestly, but it's a value. Like, just look at what happened with Will Levis over 4 quarters of play. His value blew up, and he became Tom Brady in one game. I don't think Bo Nix is going to just repeat the Will Levis, first performance, but I think he's going to show enough where, if you get him, you're going to be able to capitalize on it and gain value off of the pick.
Yeah, yeah, no. This I've kind of got my QB4 sitting around the 110 personally. And yeah, I do think that Brian Thomas getting that first round capital, it's just everyone kind of seems to dog those mid first, late first, maybe early second quarterbacks in the moment. Obviously, there's that ability to recover. You look at obviously Jalen Hurts is like the ceiling play of a lot of these guys. Um, so I had scheduled to take a quarterback here at 110, which was actually not Bo Nix. So I'm going to just go ahead and lock it in just because I think that although Brian Thomas is appealing right now. It's just because we don't know enough about the running backs and the quarterbacks to really feel confident about planting our flag on a guy. I have had big Penix energy pretty much all season. I don't see why people are really getting him so much hate. I know that he's an older guy. I know he's had some injury history. But man, I saw him really light up some great games throughout the season. So I'm excited about seeing where Penix lands. And I think that he could end up in that Kenny Pickett type zone, and being an efficient quarterback. There's a lot of teams. The Raiders are in that mid first round pick. Um, there's a
We all want to see him go to Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle will be another one I could really see. So, yeah,
Yeah, I can see that. I have Penix at number 11. Yeah, I think it's going to be a good value. It's going to be one of those picks where like you can turn a late round pick into a quarterback that's going to start for a couple years. That doesn't happen very often in these drafts. Usually all those quarterbacks are eaten up by like the first half of the first round. Like even Kenny Pickett went like 105 in a lot of drafts that year, even though he didn't have that good a draft capital, probably similar to what we were going to expect from Penix. So
yeah.
I
He
think
was
at the
also
back
the
of the
only one that got that capital that year too. So,
I know,
I
but
think
we should
he
see.
would have clearly been a 110, 110 pick. And I did see him fall in some leagues too. So,
Yeah, I think that's
um,
just a good lesson to not push guys up the board just because it's scarce in this draft. But
yeah,
when you're grabbing those guys at the end, that's awesome. So
yeah,
yeah, I right up next, I'm just gonna go with my guy, Brian Thomas. I fucking love him. You know, what else is there to say? He's big. He can catch the ball. He's got a semi-complex route tree. He's not just like doing one thing out there. So I think he's got a lot of upside.
yeah, yep, for sure. Yeah, the upside is definitely there. Um, I have some concerns, but that's a lot of guys. We're out of the clear cut guys. We got, like I said, I think we got five in the top. We might have a tier of two or three coming up next, and then we've got guys with question marks on their profiles. Um, at this next spot, I am going to keep going with the wide receiver group. There's been some interesting ones that have popped up through the Senior Bowl. I don't like mean to jump on one of these hype trains, but I'm going to go with my lad. Put the McConkey the
Woo!
donkey, kicking it hard right here at the 112. I think that it's just my style of wide receiver. I like those versatile slot receivers. They're PPR monsters. I think this is a guy that can win in a lot of different ways and can be utilized in today's NFL. I think that that middle zone of the NFL defenses has been really exploited the past couple seasons, and I think that's something that's going to continue more as teams try to shut down that deep ball difference maker kind of shots.
Yeah, I like this guy a lot. I can see him being really good. He's drawing Cooper Cup comparisons. I think that we might need to slow ourselves down because we might be a little closer to Hunter Renfro. But Hunter Renfro had a top 10 season, so
It's true. All right, turn
all
around
right.
here. We got the top of the second.
All right, I'm taking Jonathan Brooks. I'm just gonna snatch up the RB1 of this draft right here in the second round, and it feels really good. There's a couple other running backs who are you might be starting games quicker than Jonathan Brooks, but I see Jonathan Brooks as the most complete running back, and I'm willing to be a little patient if I can get a guy that's even like 80% of what we're getting out of like Brees Hall.
Yeah. Yeah, these running backs, man, I feel like they really got some sorting to do for me. Is like, where are these guys going to lay out? I think there's a kind of a tier of three running backs that any one of them could probably pop into the RB1 of this class. Um, I'll go ahead and jump on your running back. I see your Jonathan Brooks, and I will raise you a Blake Corum. He's been slowly moving up my RB ranks. I think that maybe a little bit combination of some future casting of him landing in the new Austin Eckler role with his big pal Jim Harbaugh. But also, I mean, tape don't lie. I mean, he was the all-time touchdown leader in Michigan history, which is one of the most storied and most winningest programs in college football history. So it's not like he did it at Western Michigan Catholic A&M. So he also, he's undersized back, but he's been used as their goal line back over the past couple of seasons. So I see him as a guy that the coaching staff is someone that's just going to be like falling in love with this guy in the interview process and being like, got to have him. He's going to be a day two pick. And whether he goes to the Chargers or not, I'll take the versatility of the player like Corum.
I have a weird feeling that he's going to switch Harbaugh's and wind up in Baltimore,
Love to see
which
it.
could be pretty deadly. My main problem with Blake Corum is when I draft Jonathan Brooks, I'm like, okay, I'm buying a car. It needs a little work. But like with Blake Corum, I feel like I'm leasing. I just don't feel like the longevity's there. I don't think the return on investment is going to be there. It doesn't feel like it could be a great fantasy point smash situation. I give you that. But like if I'm looking at the values, I don't see him maintaining value outside of like blowing up and having like a Tony Pollard-esque season where you can then sell him as a top 10 RB. You know, I just I think we're kind of walking a tightrope to get value out of this one, so I'm gonna avoid it.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, but honestly, like kind of going with the three Fs, if it flies, fucks, or floats, or plays fantasy football running back, lease it. Um, so I think that I'm not marrying any of these running backs anyways. I'm looking for a solid RB1 season in their first 2 years. I'm gonna try to move off of them, out of them, or that's they're none of them are going to be long term. And
Yeah,
then needless to say, I think the next kind of players I'm looking at is probably dipping back into this wide receiver pool because
I think it's my turn.
it is your turn. All right, I thought
Oh
we
yeah.
traded picks here.
Oh, did we? No. Uh, um, yeah. Up next, though, I got Adonai Mitchell next,
Yeah,
and
that was my pick.
yeah, he just belongs in this spot. Yeah, dude, I think you're getting an all around wide receiver here. I, I don't want to say AJ Brown, but like I see shades of it when I watch his film where he can just kind of like be a dominant looking wide receiver and just, he's good and well rounded.
Yeah. Yeah, I can say, as I said earlier, I mean, he was definitely a guy on my list of players to take here. And kind of going, there's the Keon Coleman's, there's Xavier Worthy, you know, those have been the hot names kind of through the process. They've had their ups and downs, flaws in their profile, whatnot. I'm gonna go ahead and take Xavier Worthy. I think that I see him landing in a good spot. The more best ball, the more I'm into Worthy. But I do think that he has lineup flex value because you're looking at ceiling. Your start 11, start 12s, where you're just looking for a guy to give you 5 points and pray for 20. That's probably going to be Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, I see him as like a better rounded Jamison Williams type. I don't think he gets pigeonholed as hard as Jamison, but he's got like the similar skill set, but he can work a little bit more closer to the line of scrimmage, and he's just a little bit more versatile. So I'm not afraid of him like I am Jamison Williams. All right. Well, up next here, I'm going to take a guy that I don't actually want to take. Is JJ McCarthy. Um, I have one red flag that's just been glaring for me with him is we saw Roman Wilson come out at the Senior Bowl, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, this guy's awesome!" How we didn't know? Well, how did we not know? Because like reportedly, the quarterback play at the Senior Bowl wasn't even good, and so like, what does that say about the quarterback play coming out of Michigan? Um, so that's one hand, like the negative side I see. The other side is he heard enough from his agent or whatever that they're like, yeah, you can come out this year. You don't need to stay anymore. Yeah, you don't need to go to the Senior Bowl. Like you've done enough. We're seeing a lot of him going in the late first. If he does, I don't think you can take him any later than this in a rookie draft.
Yeah, yeah, I don't see him falling to the 205 if he ends up actually being a first round pick. Somebody will pull the trigger at the 201 and 202 turn here. Like I said, there's enough players with question marks that you just go ahead and lock in the quarterback if you felt good enough about it. Say a team maybe traded back into the first round to get that fifth year option. You might look at a JJ. Um, with my next pick, I think we're all trying to avoid the Keon bomb. And I'll just let him continue to fall down. And speaking of the guy that you were talking about, I'm going to take my man, Roman Wilson. I'm all about Rome this year, man. I'm going to Rome. I picked Roman at Dunze. I'm picking Roman Wilson. I'm all about it. I think, once again, I've got a type, and yeah, I like them to be those tight route runners. I think those are just end up being the players who develop the most. They don't rely on their athleticism, per se to, win downfield. They're more, route running magicians that can just mess with your head, and get in those open spots. Those are quarterbacks' best friends, and if you get a point per reception, that's all I need. Just give me those 5 yard. If get me 5 more yards after the catch. That's 2 points all day, baby.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm really torn here at this next spot. I got two running backs that I don't. I got three running backs here that I'm looking at, and without the draft capital, without the landing spot, without seeing them at the combine, I really don't know. So I'm just gonna pick the one that I think is the most fun, and that's Bucky Irving. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think I've heard some Jameer Gibbs light comps. It's not that but I think he could do everything that Kyron does and more. I think he's a more capable Kyron, and like Kyron's not having any problem in fantasy right now.
hmm Yeah, I mean he's got that little bit of like A-Chain in him. A little Keaton Mitchell, both running backs we saw pop this year. A little bit undersized, but definitely shifty, definitely speedy. And definitely utilized in today's NFL. So, I've got no problem taking Bucky Irving at this point, not knowing where these landing spots are. I think Trey Benson, Braylon Allen, any one of these five running backs probably are going to be your top five RBs. Um,
Mhm.
I do like actually, we're a little later here, but I'm going to go Braylon Allen. you know, the crazy thing about Brandon Allen is, not only his size, but he's still like what 19 years old. I mean, he's super young. He's gigantic. I mean, I don't know if he's Derrick Henry or if he's maybe like an AJ Dillon.
Yeah,
But
that's like I was looking at him with the Bucky Irving pick, and honestly, I just thought you were gonna skewer me if I took Trey Benson because I was so in on AJ Dillon with his second round capital, and you know,
yeah, I thought
I,
AJ or Aaron Jones was gonna just die, and he's still out there looking like a dude. I love Aaron Jones, man. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think the best thing about Brandon Allen is that he has shown the ability to catch passes more and more every season. Last year he did catch 28 passes, not a ton, but he's shown the ability to do it. It's kind of like Kenneth Walker coming out, where I don't know if this guy can do that, but I think he's gonna, Wisconsin running back. They haven't really let you down in quite a while, so I think I'm gonna dive back into the Wisconsin pool and take Mister Allen.
yep. All right, coming up next here, I got Trey Benson. Uh, potentially he could be the RB1 in the class. He's very well rounded. It's injury concerns. Um, I I believe he's a little bit older than like Braylon and in like Jonathan Brooks and stuff. So you know, it's another one where he could smash. I don't see him doing anything for more than like 2 or 3 years in the league, but it's a good value here at the mid to end of the first or second.
Yeah. For sure. Like I said, yeah. Like I said, any one of these five RBs is gonna they'll shift themselves out once we get a little more information.
Mhm.
Um, but with this, my second to last pick, I have two players here. Just because I like to force you into funny situations. I'm gonna take Malachi Corley. Another another player that's kind of got that yak ability. We saw good play from like Rushy Rice this year, Jaden Reed, that were used in a lot of different ways. I could see Malachi Corley fitting into a similar role as those guys. And once again, 210 value feels like a place where I'm comfortable taking the upside of a Debo Samuel here. I hate to compare players to unicorns like Debo because there's probably never going to be another one. But I like to dream, even if I do get burned with guys like Laviska Shenault.
Dude, when I watch Malachi Corley, I'm like, this dude would have been the best wide receiver in the league in like 2010. He's playing like he's playing some kind of old school ball when you see it where he's just like running into dudes and stuff. Like he's not one of these like receivers that create space. He never creates space.
Hmm.
But he does get through guys, which is kind of awesome to watch. So I love Corley as like a guy that I'm gonna watch on Sunday. Best ball leagues, hell yeah. Lineup league, I'm scared. uh anyways, so yeah, right here, there's a guy that I feel like I have to take, but I'm gonna go ahead and not take him uh and go for Spencer Rattler here. I really do think if we see Spencer anywhere in the second to like early third, that you're going to turn basically an end of the second round pick into maybe like 2 second rounders and a small piece or something. Like, I'm just pretty sure with this pick at this point that I'm going to be able to get more value than I'm spending on him by the middle of the season this year.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get it. I mean, he came out as the QB1 in his class as a high schooler. It's definitely been a little polarizing. Starting off there at Oklahoma, where he ended up in South Carolina. I know he had some up and down days, but it seemed like more ups and downs at the Senior Bowl. So overall, it kind of came away fairly promising. So we'll see how scouts work with him. Obviously, him getting better through the week is a huge bump for him personally. As a guy who's willing to learn and be a little humbled after being the guy and now going off as what QB7 off the board
Right.
now. So.
All the arm talent in the world,
Yeah. Yep. No, he's
but
got it all
just
there.
can't.
It's got to be the brain talent, I feel like at this point, and whether he can handle the pressure and the leadership and the studying and all the notes and all that. That's really the big differentiator from a lot of these quarterbacks is, are you willing to put in the work outside of throwing a football?
Right.
And that's the stuff that honestly you can't test for, which is what makes it really hard for us to evaluate quarterbacks as fantasy football analysts. All right, with this last pick here, I will go ahead and take Keon Coleman. You could very much take Jatavion Sanders. I think that he's a player also that's likely we could see as a late first round NFL pick. Once again, going to let's say he goes to the Kansas City Chiefs and maybe Kelsey's got a year left, or maybe he hangs it up after winning a Super Bowl on Sunday. Who knows?
and
So,
and proposing.
right, right. Oh my gosh, right. What the All-American, she runs out in the 50-yard line and they like twirl around in a circle and he like throws his jersey at a kid and like walks off the field. I mean, I've
And then
got
she
prop
hops
bets
in
put
her
on it.
spaceship to go across town.
Right, right. To go get a Whataburger.
Right.
Um, all right, so I think Keon Coleman's got to be the guy here for me. I just hate tight ends. So whether Sanders is good or not, I will take Coleman and pray that he has some training camp hype, and as soon as that happens, he gone. I'm not getting Quentin Johnson again. I got one share I drafted. I hated him. I watched him starting to show some highlights in training camp, and not gonna lie, I started feeling like I should make some offers to people for him, and I didn't sell him, and now I saw him go for like a third round pick and some like trash cans the other day. So, I mean, you're lucky to get uh rid of Quentin for this 212 at this point. But
Honestly, so if you're this team at the 12 position, you already locked it down with Ladd, who we think is going to be a decent producer. I think like you're a championship team taking a swing on a guy with like as much upside almost as any wide receiver in this draft. I
yeah.
wouldn't say he I I don't think it's likely that he has the ceiling of like Harrison, Neighbors, or a Dunze, but like there is a world where he gets there. And a lot of people are going to be champions posing because people were very high on him at the start of this off season. But we've seen him go down a lot. I think this might be a little bit lower than where he should be going. You know, it maybe should be closer to like the 2.6 to 2.8 range.
Yeah, yeah, you will never get him here at the 212 if that's what you're looking at. But we kind of talked even earlier. I mean, there's definitely multiple parts throughout your fantasy season as far as doing these experiments with doing startup drafts or building rankings or whatever. I think at this point, like basically, we're both kind of just comparing our rankings at this point and seeing, is your guy ranked above my guy? Are we in the same tier? Did you take a guy ahead of me? Like, and you're just kind of maybe getting a little idea of what's going on. I think in the next video we'll talk more about how we have our tiers laid out, and what players are in those individual tiers. I think there's a good third step that you should also be looking at that we'll probably dive into here in a couple weeks, which is taking an NFL mock draft in the landing spots and then building a mock draft based off of that. Because that's going to obviously answer a lot of the questions that we had in this mock draft of not knowing who to take above someone else, but now having a team with that name, a lot easier to get there.
Yeah,
And I guess step four is getting some Bebop Nation involved in joining in with Ray and
yeah.
I.
Last
And
last year, that was the best video that we did. We had so much fun, like hopping in and drafting with you guys, and we want to do it again.
yeah, 100%.
You got any honorable mentions for us?
For me, I mean, I do like Audric Estime as like a running back from Notre Dame that, has the ability. Same with Marshawn Lloyd. Those are both players that I think could be risers, could be values. I mean, we talked about this a lot last season, and we got like a little bit of late season hate for it of like wanting to buy those like third round picks. We were like, there's a lot of good value down here in the third and fourth round. And like, man, I would say this was last year had to have been like one of the best third and fourth rounds I've seen. I don't know, since 2018 when we first started doing startups.
Yeah, there's. I
And
mean, there's been a lot of value in the third and fourth round over the last few years. From your Pukas, your Tanks, your Brian Robinsons, like. It's
yeah,
there's been guys there, and this year looks like a better year than any that I've ever seen because I still see guys on the board like Jalen Polk, Jamari Thrash. Um, there's several guys here who I could see them going in the second round of the real NFL draft, and they're still on our board here.
right, right. Discord popped up there.
Cool. All right. Well, we got anything else for him today?
I don't think so. I think that kind of wraps up what we got going on. Gonna hope to get things going back here again. The Dynasty Bebop. I made a big move from the Dayton, Cincinnati area to the Columbus area and get situated in a new house, new lifestyle. Dog is definitely feeling fairly satisfied in this new situation. So we made it through almost an entire broadcast without her disturbing us, and
Right.
that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
All right,
Awesome.
buddy. Well, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Play some bets. Lose some money because Vegas is sharper than you are. And
Gronk is gonna miss the kick.
Gronk is missing the kick. All right,
You heard
buddy.
it
We
here.
out. We out.